Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
We are here with our reaction and review for the first 6 episodes of Love is Blind Season 8 because Netflix decided that they were going to give us an avalanche of this in the very first week.
And you know what? Normally, I don't love having all the episodes sort of drop at once like this, but in this case, it felt like it was necessary. It really packed it together where we've gotten all our stuff in the pods, all done with, and then we're going to be moving on to the next step next time.
Okay, I will start off here by giving a little bit of full disclosure. For this show, this might as well be Matt is blind, and I mean that both literally and figuratively. I am legally blind, but it's also... I had never seen this show before getting into these episodes. Jess, I know you are a very big time fan of Love is Blind.
I have seen them all.
I have not seen any of them, but I didn't want to do like a ton of research. We do this all the time with scripted shows, and I'll watch and rewatch. But it was here I just wanted to go in, experience this show for what it was. I do watch a lot of The Bachelor, and I'm just sitting here being like, this show's so much better than The Bachelor. It's just
right?
like, I feel like I got to know a lot of these people better or for worse at times. I at least have formed opinions about a lot of them. There's a lot of couples I kind of think I'm really rooting for. This show wants me to believe in love, but then there's some other people I'm just really enraged at.
This show really makes me believe in love. I'm a person who loves love. And I mean, when it really works out with this show, it really works out. I mean, for those of you who have watched this show, Zach and Bliss, I mean, they are just like the epitome of the show working out so well.
Yeah, and I'm a romantic too. I'm a writer. I like writing romantic stories. I'm always going to cheer on couples who find a way to make this work. So I may even have a rational belief in some of these people based on what we've seen so far. It may end up pieing me in the face in certain aspects.
Yeah, I mean, this season's really interesting for me because I'm finding that there are more couples that I'm not rooting for. And then couples that I am rooting for. I mean, it's a weird journey for me this time around. Normally, it's more balanced than that, but there are some people that I'm just like, I just don't want to watch your whole season and your journey. I'm not into you, Devin.
Ben. No, this is the thing is that I'll admit from the start here, I tend to be more sympathetic towards women on these sort of shows than men just because I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's this like I'm a nerdy guy who has been taken to task by many dudes in my life. Most of them kind of look like the people who had been on this show, but we'll get into all of this. We also have a very big Love is Blind crisis apparently in the works here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Daniel the Short King. Did he do it? Did he go on Instagram before going on the show? How would he have known? It's interesting. We're going to dive into that.
Before we do, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we are going to be here through the rest of Love is Blind Season 8. We'll see if there are any other crises that emerge because even as somebody who is a noob to this franchise, I feel like the answer is going to be yes. And we want to be able to break those down and hear what you guys have to say about them.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer for the rest of the season it's definitely bringing the drama, but also join our Patreon. We'll have a link for you below. We are covering The Pit, which is airing on Max, and we are covering Prime Target, which is airing on Apple TV Plus, and it is the only place that you can get those reviews. It also helps Matt and I here at the channel to be able to continue to bring you guys reviews here on YouTube. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined.
Thank you guys so much. And yeah, let's start with Daniel here because
Daniel and Taylor. Oh my goodness.
I have a general rule when it comes to reality dating shows, but it's a weird height-based rule in a lot of ways because I'm 6'1", so I'm pretty tall. I might be 6'2". I don't know. I don't measure myself, but anyway, the truth of it is that I know all the short kings out there have a really hard time. I'm always really inclined anytime there's a guy under 5'8", or even anytime that there is a woman who's like 6'1" or taller, because I know really tall women, guys get intimidated, they're not interested, they're scared, whatever it might be. So I'm always inclined that I either want to root for one of those two groups. So the moment that we had Short King Daniel on this show, like I was all in on him. I was so invested. I was rooting for him. I was like, this is your chance, my guy. No more judgment. You're going to find somebody for you. And then all of this happens.
Yeah, I tend to be the same way. My cousin Jen is over 6 feet tall, and
Mhm.
she had definitely had this problem where guys were intimidated. She's tall, she's beautiful. She did end up finding her guy who was, feeling secure enough with her height that he was like, I don't care, she's amazing. But it definitely was a journey for her to be able to find somebody who was okay with the fact that she was as tall as she was. So when Daniel showed up. He's like, yeah, I'm owning it. I am short. It's
Mhm.
Short King season. I'm like, let's go, Daniel.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's going on. So Daniel, Taylor, they made this connection. They get
Yeah.
engaged. She sees him. But before she had seen him, she did make mention of normally she doesn't really date short guys. I mean,
Yeah.
that seems to just be this normal thing that, many women feel. And that's fine. You can feel what you want, date who you want, love who you love. But when the doors opened, I could see it on her face that something wasn't right. And I was like, okay. So the show has put it out there that she normally doesn't date short guys. Here comes in Daniel. He's short. It felt a little bit odd. Later, it comes out that Taylor's like, I know that you followed me on Instagram before the show, and then I didn't accept your request, and then you unfollowed me. So you would have known everything about me. And I'm like, okay. If her profile was, say, locked and it was like an actual friend request, he wouldn't really been able to see too much about her profile, like enough, a little bit, but not enough that it's really going to tip the scales here. But really, this is where I'm landing with it.
Okay.
I'm like, if he found out, and for me, I'm just like, how would he have found out? It must have been, I don't know, a mutual that was like, hey, I know she's on the show. Okay, maybe I'll take a look. Even if he found out, if Taylor was interested in him at all, this wouldn't have come up. That's my tinfoil hat. If a girl is interested in a guy, she's gonna let some stuff slide because she is really interested. She would have addressed it maybe off camera later, after the show, to be like, hey, you know what? I know you like peep me before the show. And he'd be like, oh, haha. And they would have a haha about it. If you're into somebody, this doesn't matter. And you wouldn't have brought it up, and it wouldn't have been in the situation where maybe he lied.
Okay, I admit the situation is really, really confusing. And it's mostly confusing for some of the reasons that you brought up here, including how would he have known that she was going to be on this show? I think the best presumed idea here is that they both know somebody. He found this out and then he went and scoped out her profile because, if he is a short king and he's feeling a little insecure going in there, maybe he was just sort of like, okay, I want to make sure that I at least have a chance because this is an opportunity for me to really find somebody. I think where it potentially becomes problematic, and this is where, if I'm Taylor, I would be a little bit worried, is just the idea that, okay, he checked out my profile, he found out I'm interested in like X, Y, and Z, and we have all of these presumed things in common. Like, are these all real, or are these things that he is making up or fabricating because he knows that I will like him? And then that is sort of the idea. Well, is this relationship built on a lie? Like, it's one thing if he like checks out her profile and it's just like, oh, I think she's cute, I hope I end up with her. Like, that's fine. But if it is I'm lying about everything that I am in order to ensure that you want to be with me, like, that's where it gets really, really rocky to me. And that's where I can kind of see, if I'm Taylor, my wheels might be spinning.
Listen, if he had said something like very, very specific, where it has on her profile that she likes to scuba dive in disco gear, and he's like, oh my God, me too. What are the chances? 100%. Then I'd be like, okay, I like Taco Bell. Everybody loves Taco Bell. Or most people love Taco Bell. Tell me if you love Taco Bell or not in the comments. I mean, it's such a general thing that so many people
Yeah.
like, that I'm kind of like, is it a lie that he would like Taco Bell? Maybe he looked and he was like, oh, she likes Taco Bell, me too. Cool. That's something that we will end up having in common. So, all right. It just, I feel that if she was interested, this would be a nothing, and she would end up talking to him about it after the show. This is not enough to end this relationship if she's into it. She's not into it.
Number one, I like Taco Bell. Number two, and
I like Taco Bell too. Not
I've
as much as Del Taco, but I like Taco
okay, I
Bell.
love Taco Bell more than Del Taco.
No.
It's just like
No.
I've seen people get married at Taco Bell. Like nobody's having Del Taco weddings as
You
far
don't know
as
that.
listen, I've never seen it on Reddit, and that's apparently my only source of news on this subject. But here's the thing that I'm really kind of running up against here, where it is just that if Taylor's just not interested in him because I don't know, she's not attracted to him, she's not into the short king thing, like whatever it is, just say that, because I know it's a tough thing to say, but
Yes.
it's a situation now where Daniel's going to come across like he's lying to a lot of people out there in the country, and that's something that really, really sticks with you, because now there's
Yes.
this whole mystery of, oh, do you have this Instagram photo where you're doing this, or do you not have this? And Daniel's saying, okay, no, I don't have that. And to me, I'm sitting here and just being like, this is a pretty easy thing to verify, because in real time, the producers may be like, okay, hold up, Daniel, we're not giving you your phone. We're going to go on your Instagram. We're going to check and see if what, you're saying is right. And then we can kind of sort of go from there. But if he's lying, it's putting him in this really, really tough position moving forward. And if he's not lying, people are still going to assume that he might be shady just because this is being thrown out there.
Absolutely. These are things that will follow you around forever. And it might be something as, we'll call it innocent, because this is not an anything. Lying about it is a something, but learning through maybe mutuals, it's like, oh, we're both going to be on the show, and taking a peek is, yes, it goes against what Love is Blind is all about, but it's not enough for the internet police to all come in and pile on him for years to come. But at the same time, I also understand why Taylor's like, better him than me, if that's the case, because coming on there and being like, I just don't like short people. And I mean, I'm a short person. I'm only 5 feet tall. Like it happens, right? But her just coming out and saying, I don't like something about somebody physically, and that's why I'm not going to be with them. That's something that would follow her around for the rest of her life as well. So she may have just been like, you know what? If I liked him, this would be a nothing, but I don't like him. So I'm going to pull the shoot, and it's going to be on Daniel. And that's why I'm not interested in either of these two.
I'm just really disappointed. I'm just going to throw this out there. As a new viewer to Love is Blind, I was so sucked in to this relationship because it was probably one of the ones I was rooting for the most, proportional to the amount of screen time that they had, where we kind of had the most of the season. I feel like the producers came up to me, kicked me where the sun didn't shine, and then just laughed at me as they were walking away into the sunset. And I was like, now you have to wait for a week to find out what happened.
Well, there's other people that I'm rooting for, so it's okay. And that's where we're going to get into David and Lauren.
Oh, boy.
I was so surprised that I ended up on this journey where I did, where I'm rooting for these two. Like, David going on, and it felt like he was pretty honest. I'm shallow. I'm surrounded by women with, plastic surgery all the time, where there's this ideal, perfect looking woman. I haven't had deep relationships because of this, and I'd like to find a way to change that. So I'm going to try this show out. I'm going to see if I can make other decisions and make connections without being able to see what somebody looks like, without going for my normal type, and see if something can really grow there. Seeing him really struggle through this process, where he has Molly, who's a little more his normal type, and then Lauren, who isn't, but he's really feeling something much deeper with her. I loved watching this unfold. I didn't love the way it all kind of played out with Molly, where she did end up saying things that weren't exactly true. Like, oh, he promised me he was going to break up with, his other person. He never promised that. Like, she was saying things that were definitely torpedoing this other relationship. And I'm really glad that Lauren and David were able to make it to the other side of that, because we've seen this even on this season with another couple, where somebody is torpedoing someone else's relationship and they don't end up together. And it was really nice to see David really push through his feelings, push through all of this, have a good cry about it, really not understand how he got here, but he's happy to be here and move forward. Like, this feels like this could work.
I like learning things socially about myself, any of this through watching a show like this. And I think I got a nice big dose of humble pie with Daniel when it comes to, oh, sorry, with David.
Mhm.
Too many D names, everybody.
I know.
Devin, Daniel, okay.
Devin, I know.
Dave here. I'm going to call you Dave for the
Dave.
moment here because I take some notes while I'm writing, trying to remember people's names, my first impressions. I can't say on this video what my first impression of Dave was because it is a word that will get us in trouble, but I'll send it in for it as tool. I first just thought you were a jerk, you were shallow, you were there demeaning people based on their age, their possible attractiveness based on their age. Like, I was ready to full on hate you.
Yes.
But you won me over time because I do
Yeah.
think you were honest and you talked a lot about your flaws, your misgivings, things you regret. And I think it's really brave to come on TV and be so open about some of this stuff. Like, that's not easy. And here's, I mean, where I'm a little bit worried about with all of this is that, yeah, I think Molly has some issues when it comes to misrepresenting things that he has said. But
Yes.
my concern with Dave here is that I think he picks somebody here in Lauren who represents a different move for him in terms of the women he's dated in the past. Like, that's kind of my assumption for him. And he made some really smart, emotionally evolved choices here. But relationships are work. And I'm not sitting here being like, I'm the perfect relationship guru, because I'm not. But he made a choice that was based on a relationship that he thought would be long lasting. I'm just worried that once he gets out of these pods, his instincts from the past are going to kick in. It feels like Molly in some ways was just sort of a more familiar connection to him and somebody who is similar to the people he's dated before. I'm really rooting for him and Lauren, but I'm just sitting here and being like, Dave, don't do it. Don't go back into your old habits, because I'm just really worried you're going to.
Well, that's the thing about it, right? This experiment is to get you to dig deeper into yourself. That's why you are isolated in these pods where all you're doing is talking relationships, getting to know people, talking, with the other guys or the other girls to try to get support through this stuff. And yeah, once you have to go back into the real world and cell phones and exes and, meeting the other people, all of that is going to come into play. And it has to really test the mettle of this relationship. If it's really there, if he really can continue to believe in getting in touch with his feelings like he did in the pods. He has to be able to hold on to that feeling and continue to work on the change. And it feels like he really wanted to.
Yes.
Even from the first minute that he came in, he came across as a tool.
Yeah.
But an honest one. He was very honest with us to say, this is how I am. This is how I've been. This is how I've been living my life. And I'm done with it.
Yeah, and I just have a ton of respect personally for that. And he's one of the couple guys I'm actually legitimately rooting for at this point, because I don't like a lot of these guys. Like, I'll be pretty honest, but I like him. And we don't need to spend a ton of time, I think, on Joey and Monica, but I like him as well. They weren't on the show that long, mostly because their connection was just like instant. Here's a fun fact for everybody.
You like Joey because Joey loves penguins and you also love penguins. Also, Joey's just great.
Okay, that
I
is
like
also...
Monica as well. I think that they're great.
I do love that he loves penguins. I do love penguins, but it's also that, I do believe in soulmates. I believe in love at first sight or love at first voice, I guess, with the show or whatever. Like, I legitimately think they're going to make it. Like, I really think that they're going to fall in love, be together for years on end.
I hope so.
Was kind of sitting here and being like, is this some sort of weird Friends connection? Because we have Joey and then we have Monica. And
I know.
I went down this rabbit hole of like Friends related research. And here's what I found out, that apparently Joey and Monica were meant to actually be love interests on Friends. They just decided not to do that at the end of the day.
Yep.
This is like the storyline that Friends couldn't have. Joey and Monica, I am rooting so much for you. Joey and your gorgeous long flocks of hair. You look like Tarzan.
I know.
There was just something about the two of them. I really like them. I know it's counterintuitive to this show sometimes because happy couples don't always mean entertainment, but I
Yep.
I kind of do want a proof of concept here.
Okay, let's talk about Virginia. Girl, you can do better. I am not a fan of Devin. Like, he was really feeling Brittany and she was feeling him. They have a
Yeah,
lot in common. He really opened up to her about his past and what was going on with his pain before the surgery. And she was really sympathetic, very, very supportive. I was like, oh man, she's so good and like this could work out so well.
yeah,
Then she's like, okay, well, he shared something pretty, deep about himself. I'm going to share something really deep about myself too. And she shares that her last relationship was with a woman who wanted to get really serious.
mhm,
And she said for herself that she wants to have a husband, that she wants to be married to a man. And that's
yeah,
something that she knows for herself.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. That was not fine for Devin. Devin is wringing his hands like
yeah,
she just told him the worst information. I'm like, you are so insecure.
yeah,
I've seen this before on shows where a woman has admitted that she's been with another woman or she's interested in other women, and the men get really insecure about it, and the
yeah,
whole thing falls apart like it did here. And I mean, she knew it too. She came in
yeah,
afterwards and was like, this isn't gonna work out. Like, it clearly everything just went really sideways when I told you, about myself. Even though I told you I am looking for a husband,
yeah.
I am monogamous, I am committed to whoever that I am with, and that is the way that it is. And it's not enough for you, then bye. It's like, good for you, man. You deserve way better than this. And you too, Virginia, please. I'm not here trying to root for not love, but at the
Yeah.
same time, oh my goodness.
I think that
It's not good look, Devin.
no, one of the problems that some of the guys on this season seem to have is they have kind of this very myopic view of what they want their future partner to be like in terms of experiences and preferences and all of this different stuff. And
Yes.
I'm just sort of looking at Devin like your real answer of all of this should be like, who cares? Because
Right.
really it doesn't matter. And I think there's all these sort of not great stereotypes about, oh, you're interested in women and men. Does that still mean you believe in monogamy? It's just like, that's just, I
Ridiculous.
know it's insane. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. Like, because I've even seen the reverse of it. Is that, I've seen women be very anxious about men after men
Yes.
say that they've been with other men. And
Right.
it's just like, it's just this really unfortunate thing that exists out in the world right now. And I really don't like it. I think Brittany seems like she's very, I hate to use the words emotionally intelligent because it's such a reality TV buzz phrase, but
She is, though.
no, I know, but she really is. And it seems like she's very smart. She knows what she wants and she's
Yes.
ready and willing to be open about the full extent of her life. And it's just like she wants to be with you. That's the only thing that should matter. And I don't know why Devin is not allowing himself to see that. I don't know if it's his own view of what he wants his partner to be, but it's just like, man, if people want to be with you, you can work everything else out. You need to drop some of these issues at the door. And I just pounded my head with these men time and time again this season.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was Devin's faith or his
I
insecurity
don't
or
know.
both or whatever it is, but I'm just not here for the Devin portion of this program. So we'll move on to Ben and Sarah, who Ben is sort of feeling like he's having kind of this same issue where it just feels like he's not really just admitting who he is or feeling who
Yeah.
he is or secure in who he is, or he's expecting something different. Like, I don't know. I wasn't here for this relationship either. Sarah feels like she's very much in tune with who she is, what
Yeah.
she wants, what she's okay with, what she's not okay with, and that's great. If you're going to go on a show like Love is Blind, it feels like you need to really know who you are and what your boundaries are and what they're not. And when they're having this political conversation, she's like, this is where I am. And he's
Yeah.
like, I don't vote. I put on blinders.
Yeah.
I'm just not involved. It's like, oh, well, that's not great either. Like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. That's where you are. I was really surprised that Sarah was like, well, I can work with that. I was like, you can? Okay. Cause you seem like you're very involved.
Yeah, if you can work on that and you can, I guess, repair that, you're a miracle worker. It's just I'll be honest from the outside looking in. I feel like a lot of people, men and women, should have just like a nice big book of red flags that they can read before they
Yes.
go on this show. Because this, to me, is one of the biggest red flags imaginable. And I'll say this with the caveat of I don't know Ben. He might be legitimate with everything that he's saying and all of that. But it's just like, to me, if I'm with somebody and they're saying, oh, I don't vote. I put on blinders to all these issues. I don't really have an opinion. I just wouldn't believe them. Like, I would sit back and being like, really? This is one of the most opinionated times in the history of humankind, and you're just kind of meh on
Yeah.
all of this stuff.
I mean, for someone like Sarah, it's weird to just not have any opinion. And I don't know why she would, if what he's saying is true, why she would want to be with a fence sitter. And at this point, even her being like, well, maybe I can educate him on
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, but that's not your responsibility as a partner to change somebody's political views
No.
and make them start to vote or see things your way. Or what if you educate them and then they're not seeing things your way? And now you're in that. And that's a very difficult relationship as well.
Boy, bye. I just don't have
I
any
agree.
interest in watching Ben moving forward, mostly just because I've read this book before. I've seen this on other reality shows. I've
It's
seen this
doomed.
on The Bachelorette, where, somebody goes in, finds out some of this stuff, and is like, oh, I can change them, I can educate them, and then the relationship doesn't work. And then and then the guy in the relationship comes out, and as it turns out, they have not been changed at all. And
Yeah.
they've gone like to the completely other extreme. So it's just like, I'm not interested in that relationship. That can just go off into the ether, and I'm sure that won't happen because this show likes to apparently torment me. I know this already through 6 episodes.
Okay, Alex Madison, Meg Mason. We spent so
I
much
know.
time on you guys
Yeah.
for nobody to be engaged. It was really surprising to me in a lot of ways. I felt like maybe Mason and Meg were going to be able to move through everything that happened, where Madison was really pushing Mason to make a choice and
Yeah.
figure it out and kind of get, just say it sort of thing, even though she was very clearly not into him. And he does end up making this choice where he's like, okay, it's you. It's you. We'll go with that sort of thing. And while he said that, there was like a couple episodes before where he called Mads Megs. I heard it. I rewound it an unhealthy amount of times. He said it. And she even was like, wait, what was that? Because he said, Megs, I really like you. And she was like, wait, what was that? And he's like, I really like you. He didn't repeat the name again. He just said, I really like you. And I was like, oh, okay. So his mind and heart is actually with Megs this whole time. Like, he's obviously interested in both people, and that's fine. That's part of this experiment. You're supposed to explore all the relationships. But her like really pushing him to make a choice and him maybe feeling like he had to make her as the choice. He wasn't ready to let her go yet. So he reaffirmed that things are good with her. And it was the wrong choice. I think he always was going to end up picking Meg. That's just where I'm landing on it. And I feel like maybe he's not a guy that's secure enough. It's a weird experiment. And he felt like he wasn't ready to make that choice. But then he did make that choice and he made the wrong choice.
This is a complicated situation. I will say that from the start. I will also admit that I'm probably more of a Madison defender than a lot of people online are going to be. And I've already accepted that. Like, do I like how she handled the situation with Meg? Not so much. But in terms
No,
of...
it made me so angry. I have my beef hat
All
on.
right,
It
all
made
right.
me so angry to see her go first tell Mason, oh, yeah, I'm here breaking up with you. And he was like, yeah, you know what? I really made a mistake. Like, you're not the one for me. And she got so upset about it. She's like, you're going to end up with nobody. This might end up in a situation where you end up with nobody. Then goes back to the pods and tells Meg, yeah, I told him that he's probably going to end up with nobody. And she's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like, she didn't make that decision. It was Madison that made that decision. And it really sucked to watch that happen because in some ways, they felt a little bit like a Zach and Bliss, where he made the wrong decision. He could have ended up with Megs, who seems like the absolute right choice for both of them, and now we'll never know. So great, thanks.
Well, okay, here's where I will put on, I guess you have the beef hat on. I'll put on the Madison defender hat here.
All right.
I'm not going to defend that interaction with Meg because I just think that was bad and she shouldn't have done that.
No, she shouldn't have.
I also do think that, Mason should have just been like, I need more time. He needs to be able to stand up for himself in that situation. I understand that there is pressure, but there's also
a lot of alcohol on this show. I mean, they're in there drinking all the
I
time.
know.
It's a hard situation. It's hard to say.
It's just, I think she's probably, this is the thing I find really interesting about Madison is that she's clearly somebody who has gone through a lot in her
Yes.
life. And,
Yes.
I'm always inspired by people who are willing to put themselves out there after dealing with so much like significant pain in a lot of different ways. And so I found myself just from her backstory really wanting to root for her to find a way to figure this out, to have some sort of happiness. But I think, the real drawback to some of that heartbreak and the pain that she's gone through is that I think she's probably also a little bit too quick to judge people on certain things. And I think she was a little bit too quick to just assume that Mason was either a player or that he was a bad person because he said that, this was my number one. And I think she was too impulsive on that. I think Mason also needed to be a little bit more confident in himself. I did like him better with Meg. Like, I will say that just from the get-go, I thought his relationship with Madison was very, very surface level and not that interesting. And I wish that the end of it had just been handled a lot better. But I think we're just sort of watching people play things out because of assumptions that they've made about other partners based on who they've been with before or what they've experienced.
Mason just comes across as a guy who's not secure in himself and is trying to still figure out who he is. I mean, he's in the art field, so are we.
Yeah.
It happens. You have insecurities, and he just comes across as someone who wasn't assured of everything that was going on, what he was thinking. It's a weird situation. You are in these pods. You don't have anyone to really talk to about things because everybody's dating all the same people. It's such a difficult situation. And it just felt like he got really pressured to make a choice, even though she very clearly was into Alex. She had said she was. Mason was not her number one, seemed to never really be her number one. And the minute that he was like, yeah, I like you, she was like, yeah, I don't like you. I'm not interested in you. So now I got him to say this. Now I'm assured that I don't like you. And now that other relationship is now ruined. And I'm in here kicking it in the teeth even more, being like, you're going to end up with no one. Meg, I told him he's going to end up with no one. She's like, cool. Now I get to end up with no one. It was just kind of mean. And then on the other side, Alex, I'm not interested in you either. This is such a weird season. I really wanted to root for him. He's somebody who had a lot of trouble in school with other people really coming down on him, and he had his glow up. He's a nerdy glow up. I'm like, I love that story. I really want to root for you. And he also is just someone who feels like he wants somebody who's a perfect package with no baggage, nothing wrong with them. That, him and Madison are talking about detachment style, and she's like, yeah, I'm someone who, has avoidance. Oh, well then, he's pulling the chute. I'm like, wow, you're pulling the chute on that? She said that she's moved through it and she's worked through it and she's proving that she's worked through it. She's still coming to the pod. She's still here for you. Oh, okay, maybe I'll work through it then. Then it's like the next thing, or she's like, oh, well, this is some of my background. Alex is pulling the chute again. I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, anything she says, he's not okay with, and he's ready to pull the chute. I was just like, red flag after red flag after red flag. The more he pulls back, the more she wants him, as happens in life. But I was just like, why do you want this guy? Then we get into the situation where she comes in, she explains everything about Mason, how he's hurt her. I'm like, has he hurt you? You weren't interested in him at all. The minute that he was like, yeah, I really like you, you pulled a face. So now you're like, oh, poor me. Oh man, he really hurt me. And Alex is like, yeah, I validate your feelings. I see where you're coming from, but I also see where he's coming from too. How dare you? I was like, Oh God, this is all messy. I was not surprised that he decided not to get engaged.
I'm not surprised at all. I do think that this is another myopic man here in Alex because we're
Right.
we're recording this days after the Super Bowl, and I think that matters here because this is a generational fumble on the part of Alex because it's like she was clearly really into you. Like she
Yes.
really liked you. You guys had an actual emotional connection, which is I think really important for a show like this because the
Absolutely.
other stuff maybe that can work out. You had the whole Beryllian saga, which I thought was really, really cute. And it's
Yes.
just that you decided, and I'm guessing because of your past and what you've gone through, that like anybody who's got this avoidance is automatically never going to be what you want to be, despite the fact that she is just like sitting there reassuring you time
Yes.
and time again that it's going to work. And it's just like you need to listen to that. And I will also say this about the whole Mason storyline right here, where she's coming to you and talking about this breakup. Like, I understand that you feel like you have some sympathy for Mason and like, you
I
see
do.
his side of it. I don't know if you should be bringing that up like right here. I don't think that should be like the second thing that's on your mind. I think
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough for him to say that there, but I'm glad that he was honest. I'll say that.
like I think you should be honest, but I would have maybe saved it for like 10 minutes or so. I would have been there for her first, reassured her first, and then be like, I like Mason. Mason's my friend. I still support him. I hope you're okay with that. Like do something. He doesn't communicate well. And I kind of noticed this
Yeah.
through I don't know, a lot of the first part of it where she's like pouring her heart out and he's just like, okay. He's sort of like this Pete Davidson character on Saturday Night Live who always has all these women interested to him. And I think his name was Chad. And his response would always be like, okay. And that would be all that he would say. And you are the Pete Davidson character of this show. And I don't think this is going to work out for you. I don't know. It seemed like Madison is in the previews for coming up. She's got like some pink hairdo or something now. Like she's clearly not going anywhere.
Yeah, Alex just felt like he wanted something very specific and it
Yeah.
needed to be squeaky clean, no problem, exactly what he wants, or it's not going to work out. And even Madison was like, yeah, there's going to be problems. Like, that's how every relationship is. And you put the work into it. This guy was never going to put the work into
Yeah.
anything. He is not, I don't know why he was on this show, to be honest. He's not ready for a real deep relationship where you have to put the work in. He's not going to put the work in. He is a huge red flag, but he's also that guy
Mhm.
that the more he pulled away, the more Madison wanted him.
Okay, before we start to wind this video down, I think this is a great opportunity for longtime fans of Love is Blind to laugh at me because I want to give my reaction to there's this bald guy who was in the pods and I kept seeing him and I was like, my fellow bald brethren, I am here. I am here for you. This guy got 30 seconds of airtime through the entirety of this season, and I've never seen the show before, so I didn't know that this was apparently a thing that happens. I was just sitting here being so angry. It's just like, that guy could be good. Why isn't that guy getting a story? I like him.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people that don't get stories, and then there's people that even get engaged on the show and they just don't move forward because there's only so many spots to move forward with the show. And there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the show though for my first time watching it. I mean, did I also think that all of these episodes needed to be an hour and 10 minutes? No, because some of it just felt like, okay, guys, I've heard this conversation. You guys are just staring at each other for 2 minutes. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, no, they did not need to be an hour and 10 minutes. I really love this show,
Yeah.
but these episodes are too long.
Yeah, there's a little bit of filler in here. I did enjoy it. I am invested in some of it. I'm perhaps most curious just as a reality TV production fan to see what happens with this Short King saga and don't let this be a deterrent future Short Kings out there. You guys can still do this. I believe in you.
Absolutely, but I think that it would be remiss to say that there are many reality contestants that are going on shows that look each other up. This isn't that big of a scandal. Let's be real.
Yeah, I even without seeing any other Love is Blind seasons, I'm sure there has been worse. Actually, as a matter of fact, even without having seen any of them, I've heard some things that are worse. So this is gonna be fine. We'll get past this.
Absolutely. This is not it shouldn't have been the thing that's going to end the relationship if she was into him, but she's just not into him.
All right, well, hit that subscribe button. We will be here for more Love is Blind throughout this season. Let us know who you are rooting for the most. What do you think about these contestants in general? And you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description below. Thank you so much to our patrons. We're covering There to Pit on Max as well as Prime Target on Apple TV Plus. And we'll see you here next time.